Well, welcome. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. Although I will be honest, it's about to have a major rain shower here. So if you hear thunder, it's not coming from you guys. It's coming from the weather down here in West Palm. So
Okay.
I just wanted to let you know.
Sounds good. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started here. If you can, just please take a moment to tell us about yourself and why you're interested in the city of Cocoa.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I'm real excited about the opportunity here. I did a lot of research, read your budget, I read your strategic plan, talked to several people within the community, and it just seems like a really good match for me. I've been in Florida for a long time, so I understand all the necessities and the intricacies that come with Florida. I've been in a city that's about your size, which is the city of Parkland, met and dealt with most of the issues that you have. I'm looking for some place for a long tenure. This is not a stepping stone for me. When I go to places, I generally stay long. When I was the city manager of Parkland, I was there for 13 years, 10 of them being the city manager. So I'm bringing my family up. God bless. My dad is 90. My mom is 88. So they're going to be coming up and moving up with us. And the area is beautiful. I think the opportunities within the city match really well with what I can provide. I'm absolutely who you see I am. I'm honest. I'm upfront. I tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm very inclusive, great communication, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from you and me showing you why I should be your next city manager.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Our first question is going to come from our Deputy Mayor Goins.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
All right, awesome. All right, my first question is, what is your ideal plan to spark growth and development in our most impoverished areas without displacing the current residents?
Deputy Mayor, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you really well. Maybe, Mayor, you could read it, it seems, or I'm not sure what the issue was.
Maybe that place.
All right, can you hear me now? Hear me better?
It's like it's kind of shaky. It's not clear on the on what you're saying. I apologize.
I'll read it for the Deputy Mayor. What is your ideal plan to spark growth and development in our most impoverished areas without displacing the current residents? You understand?
That was perfect. Thank you very much, Commissioner, Council Member. I've addressed this in Delray Beach. Delray Beach is also in a situation, there was one area in the city that actually had a 17% unemployment rate. And so we were really trying to figure out how do we bring some sort of money worth without gentrifying the area and forcing people to have to leave. It's not an easy answer. You have to work a lot with the community groups. You have to work, again, with your downtown. If it's downtown, you have your CRA, you deal with your CRA. In Delray, what we dealt is we also had a supermarket desert there. We actually worked with a developer in a P3, which is a public-private partnership, where typically the city provides something and a developer provides something. In this instance, the CRA and the city worked together to group property together, and the developer came in and promised to build affordable housing, as well as bring in a shopping center, as well as the opportunity in order to also bring in other businesses that the neighborhood could use. I think you also need to work with your housing authorities that are there. Obviously, you can build houses. We actually, again in Delray, we worked with our high school in which we donated land, and then what we did is we were able to train the high school students with a trade. So when they came out of school, they had a job, and we helped them build houses that people could go into, and left those houses with some restrictions so that the value of the homes wouldn't increase so substantially that would force the individual to have to move, or what the neighborhood was like, whether they have to leave. think the third thing you have to look at is the historic nature of the community and how much that community's identity matters to the people who are residing there. And I think that, again, if you can work all those things together, I think you would be able to create an environment that would encourage development or redevelopment, but at the same time not removing or requiring people to move from the location which they may want to stay. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you,
Ma'am,
appreciate it.
Thank you. My next question is going to come from Councilwoman Warner, District 2.
Hi, Caryn. Thanks for being with us tonight. You have obviously done some homework on the city of Cocoa. So based on the knowledge that you have now, what is your biggest concern about coming to work here?
You know, that's a great question. I was afraid you were going to ask me what's the biggest because there's always so many. There's the general concerns that you have as a city manager that affect all cities. Cybersecurity, active shooters, so those are always in the back of the mind. From my research, I think there are, council member, I apologize, I don't think I can give you one because I think there are several. One certainly is the image of the city, right? And I think that's important because that's what drives your population, that's what drives your development. You know what, let me backtrack. I think I can. The one I would say is sustainability, okay? And for me, sustainability is broad. So it's environmental sustainability. So we got to address if there's any flooding, seawalls, pollution in the water, whatever it is. Then there's financial sustainability. Do we have enough money to sustain ourselves for the future? Because we're not only living for today, but we're living for tomorrow. You then have people sustainability. Is there inclusion, diversity? And that could mean young to old, families to singles, Generation X to Generation Y. It could mean, backgrounds where you come from. It could be race. It could be nationality. It could be religion. All these things are what ultimately gives you a quality of life. Obviously, again, crime is in that sustainability in people and places. Do people want to come there? Cocoa Village, we want to highlight that. We want people to come there. We want parks. These are the things that will drive your community to want to stay there, the next generation to come in there, and to ensure that the city of Cocoa is there in the future.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we're going to move over to Councilwoman Cost, District 3.
I'm in District 4.
4, I'm sorry. I'm getting you two mixed up. I don't know why.
Second time you do that.
Okay, just to confirm, we are to ask each candidate the same
The
questions,
same question,
right?
yes.
Okay,
Okay.
great. How you doing, Caryn?
I'm doing great, thank you. How about you?
Oh, man, I'm glad I'm not in your shoes. This has got to be like the interview, they do to make you sweat, right? Okay, so we live in tumultuous times. I think we all can agree to that with the events of the last year. And sitting on the dais or as in the most important position, our city manager requires courage. Can you share with us an experience you had where you had to show your courage or guide your council to be courageous?
Sorry, if you could say it one more time for me, just to make sure I got the question right.
Yes. Can you share with us one experience where you had to be courageous or you guided your council to be courageous?
Okay, thank you. So I would have to say this is in Parkland. And, I know probably all know about Parkland. Fortunately for me, I left before the shooting happened. So I didn't personally have to deal with that. But during the time I was there was a lot of controversy regarding a charter school coming in. And the concern from some of the commissioners was that, the A-rated, the upper level students would end up leaving the public schools and going to the private schools and would bring down the school rating of the schools. Another issue they had was traffic, as they felt that a lot of the individuals would be coming from outside of Parkland, and therefore the local roadways would fill up with non-residents, which they were not looking for. On the other hand, on the other side, was the issue that the public schools in Parkland were overcrowded. That the opportunity that a private school could give is different than what a public school could give. And it also provided an opportunity for individuals outside of Parkland to come in. Parkland was a very closed community and really have the diversity and the knowledge of other cities and other individuals coming in was a benefit, was an experience for the kids. The commission received a lot of adverse from particularly the communities that surrounded the property. Unfortunately, and again, my strength is in planning and zoning, is kind of where I came up from. Previous job for me was as an attorney. I told him, I said, look, when you've got zoning, you have some discretion, but you don't always have full discretion. And at the point where this property was, a charter school was actually permitted. And I, discussed with the commissioners, and look, if you hire me as your city manager, I'm a very strong believer in communication. I treasure the opportunity to talk with each and every one of you individually in order for sound bites to be discussed, to think about your thoughts, for me to talk about what the facts and figures show. A lot of false information was being sent out. So I told the commission, look, at this point, the only discretion you have would be to end up in a lawsuit. And would it be advantageous to the city of Parkland to end up in a lawsuit where that money could be spent for other purposes? And, it took a lot of courage in order for a staff, including myself and my planning director, in order to get up and say, commission, you have some discretion. We can help negotiate what some of the impacts may be. So, we encouraged a longer throat in the school to prevent the traffic from sitting out on the streets. We phased in the students coming into the school. It was a K through 8. So we said start through K through 5. Let's see how that goes. We can look at a traffic study, and then we can go forward. So that way, we weren't placing ourselves in a lawsuit, but at the same time, I didn't want to say to the commission, you can't address what yours or your residents' concerns are. We can try to address those as conditions of approval and work with the developer in order to address whatever those issues that are out there and need to be addressed. And that's how it worked out. It actually, I had already left before the approvals, but I took a look at the conditions, and that's exactly what they did. They ended up not prohibiting it. They ended up working with the developer, and that, like I said, took a lot of courage because a lot of the residents were against it. It took a lot of meetings to talk with those residents and to provide them the opportunity. I will tell you, in most instances, when you're in a heated situation, people want to be heard. You can't always give them the answer they want, but as long as you're listening to them, that matters to them. And I think that's important. That's one of the things that I do strive on.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Councilman Bover,
District 3.
District 3.
Good evening, Caryn. How are you?
I'm doing great. You got the districts right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what strength do you bring that will contribute to meeting the expectations of this position?
So, I guess this is the opportunity that I'm really going to tout myself. I bring a lot of strengths. First of all, there are a lot of distinctions I have from the other candidates. As I said, I'm from Florida. I think there's a big difference between Georgia and Florida. If you've never dealt with sunshine law violations, you don't know what that's like, or the public records requests that are in Florida, or, I've had to deal with ADA and your website. So I've dealt with a lot of the issues that have to be addressed in Florida that you don't get in Georgia. I've been a manager of a city and not of a county, and I think there's a big difference between those. County, I mean, how many of us really will go to the county seat, but they'll certainly show up at your city hall because it's right nearby. So I understand that. I understand the nature of a population that is very demanding. When I was in the city of Parkland, let me tell you, if you didn't respond to someone's email like within 3 hours, you were late. So I understand that there's a huge demand and you're competing with social media right now. And to educate my commission, which I think is another strength that I can provide to you, is that when I was with my commission, we were friends. I mean, it wasn't only just a job. I mean, when I left Parkland, I left 3 years ago until the virus came in, I was meeting with 2 of my commissioners for lunch every month. I happen to know my 2 commissioners advanced. As a matter of fact, one of my commissioners is the state of Florida emergency manager, Jared Moskowitz. So if you hire me and we have any FEMA problems, I've got a person to go to. So, so I've become friends with them. I've been invited to weddings and births and things like that because I built that trust. I built that communication, and I built that kind of relationship. I also believe that our staff is our number one asset. I mean, honestly, they can help us or hurt us the most. And so I'm a firm believer in, empowering staff. I don't like to micromanage. I believe in compensating them appropriately. I believe that staff should be held accountable. I'll tell you, my management style is I am cooperative, but result-oriented, and I think the two aren't separate. I think I'm a very big on teams and working together, pulling people from different areas to come up with solutions, but you can't just sit in these meetings. You ultimately got to come up with a result because your residents are looking to see where their money's being spent. I am very flexible is my strength. I've probably been in charge of almost every department that the city of Cocoa has. One way or the other. I've done finance, IT, parks, public works, utilities, planning, building, HR, clerk's office. I've done fire, police. So, I mean, I know enough about everything, but I don't have to be the expert, right? I need to have people around me who are smarter and who certainly can help me. I've dealt with some of the issues you've dealt with, this inclusion, diversity, what's going on now with Black Lives Matter. I've had to deal with that in Delray. I don't know if you're aware, but Delray had a resolution adopted in 1929 prohibited Black residents from going to the east side of the city. So they have a big history regarding racial divide in their particular city. And I have economic development. As a planner, that's certainly my background. I've done studies. I've gone door to door with businesses. These are all areas I think that I can bring expertise to, and I certainly can work with the staff and work with the commission in order to make sure that we're meeting the demands and the needs and the desires of both the council and of the residents.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And I have one final question here for you. And it's, what do you feel is the difference between a good manager and a good leader?
One more time, it was a good leader versus
A good manager versus a good leader.
So there definitely is a difference. In my mind, a leader is a manager, but has additional skills. The leader is the one that's going to motivate the staff. The leader is going to talk about the vision, is going to talk about the traits and the core values. And as a leader, you have to be the one to be the first one to show that. You cannot expect your staff to do something that you wouldn't do. And that's what a leader does. So, when I'm out on the street and I see a snipe sign on the side that's illegal, I don't pass it. I stop, I put it in my car. I'm no better than anybody else. And that's a core value that a leader has to show to their staff, to say, this is what is expected of us, and this is what we're going to provide. Motivation is another one that I think is important for a leader. And motivation is different for all sorts of people. you know, I'll tell you one of my motivations that I did is, I don't know if you all remember when there was the ice bucket challenge that they had. I used that as a motivational tool for my staff, in which I did it as a fundraising to say whoever raised the most money would be the one to pour the bucket over me. And so it was like a race. It was just like, it was unbelievable. And the money went to a great organization. And in the end, just if anybody wanted to know, the police chief was the one who won. And he talks to this day about he was the one to make me wet without any consequences. A manager tends to more day-to-day stuff. And that doesn't mean that a leader doesn't do that either, but just because you're a manager doesn't make you a leader, but typically a leader will make you a manager. So I hope that gives you enough of a distinction or examples of what the difference is.
Yes, ma'am, that was a great answer. I appreciate that. And this right here is an opportunity right now for any other comments you'd like to make, or just, you know, just that you want people to know about you. I mean, this is a great opportunity right now for you to do that before we close out this session.
Well, you know, you give somebody like me an opportunity to talk, we're always going to talk. So thank you for the opportunity. Look, I'm excited about being in this group. I hope I make it to the next step. As you can tell, I'm very personable. I won't sit behind my desk, guys. I have an open door policy. Like I said, I'll tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. I believe as being a facilitator. I believe in mentoring. I can tell you a story. I had a parks director in Parkland who was being hammered by his staff. He was young, one of the millenniums, and didn't have great strength as a supervisor. I could have fired him, but I didn't. Instead, what I did is I took him under my wing. I made him my PIO, public information officer, figuring as a Generation X that why he would be great in social media. He was. He rebuilt our entire website, helped us in social media, and in the interim, I helped on understanding what you need to be a manager, to be a supervisor, helped strengthen his personality and support for him. And today, he had to leave Parkland because his wife got transferred. Today, he's actually the parks director over at Claremont. I'm sure if any of you have been to Claremont, it's like one of the premier parks department with everything they got going on there. I could have devastated him, but instead of doing that, because I believe our job is to make our people better, know their weaknesses and help improve them, I've actually made him a better person and made him very successful. So I'm that type of person. But, again, I'm not here for change's sake. Again, I will look at everybody fairly. I would love to hear from everybody. My first 90 days would be listening. I'm not here to go do wholesale changes. I'm here to see what's the good, the bad, the ugly. However, I will say that I am a believer in reviewing processes and procedures because I always feel there's always continuous improvement. We can always do better than what we've been doing. I'd like to take Cocoa to the next step. I believe I can take it to the next step. I'm excited about the opportunity that they're here. And like I said, I'm looking for a long-term commitment, and I think it'll be great. I think a lot of what I can bring to it aligns very well with my history. And if there's any other questions, I'd be more than willing to answer them.
Thank you, ma'am. It was such a pleasure listening to you, and we're so grateful that you came on today, and looking forward to possibly speaking to you again. And we just hope that you enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe.
And the same to all of you. And all, please be healthy. I'm glad you're all wearing masks. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Ben, thank you. You have a wonderful city. And hopefully I'll hear from you. And
Thank
you
you.
have a great night now.
Appreciate it. You too.
Bye.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay.